45 million of us. Think about this. If we put up 5 cents a day, 25 cents a week, $1 a month in a national treasury, if 30 million of us or 40 million of us could manage 5 cents a day, you can't even go to your children today and offer them 5 cents and they'll spit in your face. And at the end of a week, if you offered your grandchild a quarter, he would look at you and say, "What's wrong with you, Grandpa? A quarter can't buy anything." But 40 million of us putting something in a national treasury, then the first thing we do after 1 year, you won't have millions or hundreds of millions. In 1 year, you would have several billions of dollars in a national treasury, and pooling their resources would allow us to put big things back into the black community by creating jobs. But the thing that we have money, but we don't have unity. But then if we got none of them together, then we have no future.
Because you see, in this country, no blacks wants to give my black think tank any money to help our leaders to develop policy and public issues. And when I ask them for money, what they say is that we can't give you money. I said, why not? They said, what is your organization for? I said, to help black America. They said, who's going to benefit? I said, black folk. They said, who's going to work in it? I said, black folk. They said, ooh, too black. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, how can you be too black? What is too black? 10, 20, 30? What's too black? Nobody ever says something is too Jewish, too Indian, too Asian. And I'm telling you, people are telling me this too blackness comes from our black entertainers, our black athletes that's making $100 million. They could give the money to us that they're paying in taxes because we're tax exempt. But they'd rather give it to the government than even give it to an organization to help black folk in this country. Because they don't want to be black.
Black people never help each other. We never stick together. We are the most retarded culture in the world for that. I always say that. You know, for some reason, when black people get something, they think that they can't share it with other black people because that other black person is going to take it from them. But that's when someone's giving you something. But yeah, we can't act like we stick together because we don't. You know, you can look at how we always get separated, and it's always someone from another culture that separates us. I could personally tell you that. Yeah, nah, we don't stick together. We be clowning like that. But I'm a black man, and I can say that.
Think about the last time you walked into a black business. I walk into black businesses all the time, and sometimes I get disappointed because number one, I don't like the customer service. Number two, I don't like how filthy it is in there. And number three, I don't like that they have a lot of negative energy built around that specific shop.
I think it was a wonderful idea, not only because of the fact that they were able to go and spend their money within their communities, but also they were, I think the woman, that she mentioned that she also had some stereotypes in terms of buying clothing in black-owned businesses, and then she went there and saw that they have the same clothing that she'd normally buy in other stores that are white-owned, and she realized that I really have a misconception about my own people. So I mean, a lot of people, and I know we've had some problems here, even in New York City, where people were trying to, black individuals were trying to start vegetable stands, but there's this preconceived notion that only Asian vegetable stands are going to have fresh vegetables, and so those businesses would go out of business because they go down the block to the Asian store. So it's something that we really have to consider.
If you want to go in business today, don't do it. Give me the money. I need it. Because you're going to go bankrupt. 80% of all black folk that go into business under the present system, you will go bankrupt within 2 years. You will lose your money within 2 years because you don't have a market. And see, that's how the other groups function. They have their own markets, their own communities.
And we have to suffer for a while. We do. That's what I was telling you about white supremacy and the so-called good things about white supremacy. People want to keep their record deals, like we say. People want to keep the comfort of white supremacy while trying to get knowledge of self. That's not going to happen. Don't you have like Little Italy? Don't you have like Little Chinatown? Is that not segregation inside of integration? Is it not?
Now we got the prototype restaurants up now in South Dade. 2 restaurants. They are fast food restaurants called Fish Cities. They're selling the fish and all kind of seafoods with a special kind of menu. Now McDonald's and Burger King, our 2 competitors on both sides, do about $780,000 a year. We do twice what McDonald's and Burger King do and sell, okay? And the only way they can get me out is to turn my people against us. And they can't turn us against us because I love my folk too much and they think too much of what I'm trying to do for them, so they can't get us out. Okay?
Some pastors, some imams, some religious leaders, I never want to say all because normally once in a while there's an exception. But instead of organizing the church to fight police brutality, instead of organizing the church to improve the educational system, instead of organizing the church to hold your elected officials accountable, they use the church as a form of Novocaine. Let's follow this to the end. So all of us go to the same church, hypothetically. We all put in a certain amount of money every Sunday, hypothetically. The pastor takes your money and takes it to a certain bank in Miami that's not black, it's white. So he's depositing about $50,000 in a white bank every Sunday. Stay with me. That money does not go up to God. It goes to a white bank. And let me tell you what the white bank does with your Jesus money. They take your Jesus money and put it all together, and then some white man comes in from the outside and says, I want to go clean up, I want to transform, I want to gentrify, I want to do some ethnic cleansing in Miami. And then you find out that your church is the #1 donor contributor to the bank, which means your Jesus money is doing the devil's work.
If we're freely giving our tithes and offerings to the church for the betterment of the body of Christ, isn't part of the body of Christ going out doing Christ-like things, helping the community? Look, let me tell you something. We donating $14.5 billion a year. $14.5 billion a year. $14.5 billion a year. Averagely to black churches. It's a responsibility owed to these communities who are donating their money. And know your history. All right? Somebody in here talked about Oprah, why she didn't build schools and all this. Oprah doesn't have an obligation because that is money that she made. We didn't give it to her. She made it. We gave the church the money. And the history of the church, the foundation of the church, especially the black church, was to be the cornerstone, the tried stone of the community. Where if your lights were getting cut off, you were getting evicted, you could go to the church and to the pastor and say, I got X, Y, and Z for a problem. My child needs money to go to school. They need, X, Y, and Z, and the church would be there. That can't be the case today.
I constantly have had conversations about the potential that we have in terms of being an economic force. And there's no point in repeating the numbers of us who are in churches, community organizations, and how in just one weekend, we could raise, obviously enough money to create our own banking system in one weekend. Professor Wilson, that last caller was reaching out.
That's in part the effect of the self-hatred. The creation of a national network, economic, social, political network by black people, and a national economic program of development, political, social program by black people. Now, I don't want this to be interpreted as advocating the overthrow of the United States government, okay? I'm talking about the kind of informal organization that you often find in other ethnic groups that have, you know, so-and-so congresses and the Congress of leaders from various regions and situations of this kind that come together and have a policy, political, social, economic policy, which is coordinated nationwide and then into worldwide as well. We have not done that. We have the foundation for it. We have a whole network of black churches. You also saw the network being laid in Elijah Muhammad's system as well. So if we're going to have to look at that, see how we can informally set up this kind of network, because once we do this, we can lay the basis for real productive economics in the United States.
Black folk on an aggregated national disposable basis of collected income, they might be the ninth richest nation on earth. Right now, if I take all the black folks' money annually and aggregate it, they might be they're richer than maybe Sweden, Canada, India, Pakistan, whole bunch of countries, Thailand, folks most all put together. But the difference is, what I keep trying to tell blacks, it doesn't make any difference, because it's not aggregated. You aggregate something, you strengthen exponentially the power of it by multiplying factor, by putting them together and then piling it up, making it stronger. But unfortunately, we are the only people that don't want that to occur. Because, you know why? Because traditionally, whites saw black folk aggregate as being a negative, and we see everything through the eyes of whites.
Social feedback loop, a fancy term for word of mouth, helps explain the herd mentality behind all investor manias. In 1960, 22-year-old Bernie founded his legitimate business, a trading firm called Madoff Securities. He claimed that he started the business with proceeds from his lifeguard job. In reality, the father of his new wife, Ruth, loaned them $50,000 to start the business. It was a tight-knit family firm, with Ruth helping out early on and Bernie's younger brother, Peter, joining soon after law school. The earliest investors were Bernie and Ruth's friends from school, from Catskills resorts, and from the Jewish country clubs the Madoffs belonged to once they moved from Queens to the North Shore of Long Island.
Crooks like to start sort of in their own communities. It's the trust factor. He preyed a lot on other Jewish individuals to start his scheme. You're going to give someone who lives in your neighborhood and goes to the church you attend a little bit more trust than you're going to give someone else.
Some of these teachings that you have, it's going to revolutionize people's lives. For instance, tell me something involved with these ancient Jewish secrets. Explain something to me.
You know, a very simple thing that I found that Jewish people naturally do is they segregate their money into different jars, whereas most people take all their money and just put it in one jar. And when they do that, they spend their money first, pay all their bills, and then they try to tithe or give or invest, and there's nothing left. What they do is they have separate jars. So a Jewish father, for example, teaching his son would say, son,
don't put all your money in one jar. If I were to give you $10 a week, take $1 for the Lord's tithe. Learn how to manage His money. Another $1 for offering. Take another $1 for savings. Take $2 for investments in the hopes of multiplication. Then take $5 for spending. Son, so first you tithe, you give, you save, invest, and spend the rest.
you know what that little Jewish boy learns to do? To take his money and invest it in something that will multiply. To take his money and invest it in something that will multiply. I heard of one young boy who just simply lent money to other kids in his school. And you know what happened? Those kids would pay him back double what he lent them. And his money grew and grew and grew. Do you know at the end of high school, this is actually one young man that I know, he actually bought his first house for cash when he graduated from high school. Do you know all the other kids around, you know what they did? They had incurred a credit card debt by the time they graduated from high school.
A mutual fund is an investment vehicle that's made up of a pool of funds collected from many investors for the purpose of investing in securities such as stocks, bonds, money market instruments and similar assets. Mutual funds are operated by money managers who invest the fund's capital and attempt to produce capital gains and income for the fund's investors. A mutual fund's portfolio is structured and maintained to match the investment objectives stated in its prospectus. When you contribute money to a fund, you get a stake in all its investments. That's a big deal, since most funds allow you to begin investing with as little as a couple of $1,000s. You can attain a diversified portfolio for much less than you could buy individual stocks and bonds. Plus, you don't have to worry about keeping track of dozens of holdings. That's the fund manager's job.
Norway may be a small country, but it's an oil and gas superpower. With a sovereign wealth fund worth almost $900 billion, it's a financial superpower too. Some of that taxpayer money is salted down in this huge sovereign wealth fund, the pension fund, or the oil fund, about $850 billion last time I checked. That makes you a very big player in the financial markets. I think Norway owns more than 1% of all publicly quoted stocks in the world.
While most Europeans are facing cuts and austerity, every Norwegian has become a millionaire. The country's sovereign wealth fund recently hit a milestone value of around $800 billion, which means every citizen in Norway is worth about 1 million Norwegian kroner each. Well, on paper at least. Sadly, they can't get their hands on the cash because the money is being kept under the mattress by the Norwegian government, which has been saving up the windfall generated by North Sea oil since the late 1960s.
From the beginning, the government really knew that it was very important that this money was being kept for future generations. Obviously, they also have to do this because if they pulled all the money in, they'll hurt the economy inadvertently. So at the moment, they can only take out a certain percentage of the return on an annual basis. So really, the fund will just continue to grow as long as the managers find the right investments.
Norway's sovereign fund owns around 1% of global stocks, as well as bonds and real estate. There are restrictions on what the government can take from the fund, designed to protect the domestic economy, as well as saving for the future.
If the Norwegian government just started to pull all this money into the system, the Norwegian kroner would go incredibly strong. It would basically kill all the rest of the Norwegian export industry. Unemployment would rise, and everyone would basically be living off handouts from the government. So obviously, they have to be very careful how to spend this money.
Qatar is a nation that is blessed with natural resources. We know as a nation that is not sustainable. So the idea of creating a knowledge economy came from Qatar Foundation.
Education is at the heart of Qatar Foundation's endeavours, as it seeks to help Qatar to diversify its flourishing economy, currently based on oil and gas.
The FT has been taking a look at the investment strategy of Qatar Holding, a sovereign wealth fund that has been extremely aggressive with its global acquisitions since 2009.
This is a really important sovereign wealth fund. You've got to remember that since 2008, just after the financial crisis broke, that this is a fund that's been receiving $30 to $40 billion a year to invest. They're claiming returns of around 20%, just under 20%. That's pretty spectacular. Of course, the S&P, if you look at that, the returns somebody investing in the S&P since then, they would have got 15%. But by unanimous judgment, this is a very remarkable fund. And they've done some big investments, like in Barclays, in the Xstrata Glencore deal, biggest mining merger ever, and they've done very well.
The small Middle Eastern country of Qatar, bordering the Persian Gulf, has reportedly been investing in various real estate and media projects across the United States. Qatar has a population of around 250,000 citizens, along with 1 million foreign workers, but they have the largest natural gas field in the world, which translates to enormous wealth. A notable U.S. project that Qatar has invested in, to the tune of around $650 million, is the City Center in Washington, D.C., a neighborhood development of residential units, retail space, offices, and restaurants. The involvement in the project includes the stipulation that the complex not house any bars or banks, out of respect for Islamic law, which does not allow alcohol or interest on loans. Qatar also bought out the Current TV news channel to create Al Jazeera America, a U.S. branch of the international news company, and they are the majority owner of the Houston-based natural gas importer Golden Pass Products. They also have real estate interest in the Radisson Blu Aqua Hotel in Chicago.
But what we're going to do then is start, once we get past building these communities, then we're going to start getting into what we call practicing building alternative economic structures. That's very important. You got to build your own alternative economic structure. An alternative economic structure, in the short time I haven't got time to explain it, is nothing but building your own city, your own community, your own towns, building a lot of small sub-communities all over America. You build a community of markets, a community of producers, a community of distributors, a community of retailers, and we all interconnect all over the country and build a vertical order.
A conglomerate is a corporation formed by the acquisition of one firm of several others, each of which is engaged in an activity that generally differs from that of the original. The management of such a corporation may wish to diversify its field of operations for a number of reasons, making additional use of existing plant facilities, improving its marketing position with a broader range of products, or decreasing the inherent risk in depending on the demand for a single product. In the late 19th century, many American conglomerates, such as the Standard Oil Company and Trust, sought to control all aspects relating to the development, production, marketing, and delivery of their products.
The bank has renovated its financial centers, including the branch located at Historic Progress Plaza.
Born and raised in the city of Detroit, Herbert J. Strather is the chairman of Strather & Associates, a real estate development and investment firm located in Detroit. Established by Strather in 1975, Strather & Associates is responsible for more than $2 billion in real estate transactions and is a multi-level conglomerate consisting of real estate acquisitions, investment, development, and property management.
Across Detroit and across the nation, developers, city governments, and community organizations are taking note of Strather and Associates and its ability to generate a level of excitement never before experienced in our central city neighborhoods. For decades, these communities have been imploding, but now Herb Strather and his partner organizations are building entirely new neighborhoods in what previously were some of the most dangerous, undesirable, and seemingly hopeless areas of Detroit.
Over the last several years, the city of Detroit has become synonymous with blight. But some idealistic souls believe in the city's rebirth and now investing serious funds to prove their faith. This week, a group of developers bought the so-called Blight Bundle. It's a group of 6,350 mostly neglected homes and vacant lots scattered across Detroit. And they were the only bidders, and they spent slightly more than $3 million for the properties. I'd now like to welcome Herb Strather, the leader of that development group. Herb, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for having me on your show today.
All right, so it's called the Blight Bundle. Really doesn't seem like the most attractive package of properties. Why did you buy it?
Well, I was born here in the city, and as a little kid, I always dreamed that one day I would come back and redevelop my city. So you might say that I'm all in. I'm all in the city of Detroit. So when the bundle came up, it was an opportunity to redevelop the city, for me to lead the way in the redevelopment of the city that I love. To redevelop the city. What we're trying to do is to teach a whole new generation of developers and get the city itself involved, the citizens, the retirees, the community development corporations, and the churches, to get the citizens involved in the redevelopment, and I would teach them and give them pre-development funding and lead the way.